Grandin's Landscape and Maintenance. I'm going to make this video short, but I really wanted to expand on what I was talking about earlier. If you've done landscaping or lawn care, if you're an avid gardener, then you learn things over time. And the more you do it, just the more you know, really. And I'm going to try to give some of my advice to some people who are just starting out. And I'll start with lawn care. Now, I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It's zone 8B. Some people just call it zone 8, but it's zone 8B. And the reason you want to know that is because plants grow in different zones. Same thing with grass and or lawn turf, if you want to get technical with the term. But here's the main thing. I just want to cover some weeds today. That if you see these weeds in your yard and you see them in abundance, then these are the things you can point and say to yourself, there's problems in my yard. These are kind of how to fix it without having to spend money on a pH test or a soil sample test. Even though I recommend those things, here's just a general guideline for you guys. I'll use centipede grass. It's one of the most prevalent here. It's the lazy man kind of grass because it doesn't need a lot of fertilizer. It doesn't need a lot of attention. Of course, it needs an inch of water a week, but that's it. And when I say an inch, I'm talking about an inch, into the soil. And if it doesn't receive that from rainfall, then you need to turn your sprinkler on or whatever. You need somehow to get that grass and that soil wet. But let's start with the weeds, because if you see the weeds, those are big indicators of what is going on with your lawn. If you have compacted soil, you'll see a lot of mouse ear. I'm going to try to put those pictures up right after this. So if you see me pause for a second, that's why I pause, because I'm going to try to throw those pictures in there. You have low fertility if you have plantains. Okay. Now, let's go back to centipede grass. Centipede grass does not like high phosphorus soil. It doesn't like high pH. It doesn't like low potassium. It likes the pH of the soil to be around 5.5, if you can maintain that or somewhere in that range. Now, if you notice these things in your lawn, these are the weeds that I'm just going to go over, like, 4 or 5. I could go over 100, but we'll go over 4 or 5. Just to make it short, make it easy for you guys, so I don't lose anybody. Crabgrass. If you see crabgrass in your lawn, you know immediately that you have very low levels of calcium and phosphorus in your lawn, and you have very high levels of chlorine, high levels of magnesium and potassium. So keep that in mind, which way they're going. I'm going to do little arrows so you know. Low levels of calcium, low levels of phosphorus, high levels of chlorine, high levels of magnesium and potassium. Also, you'll have a low pH, and you'll have low humus. Now, humus is basically topsoil. I'm just going to generalize it for you, because a lot of people have contradicted what they said over the years about what humus is. It's basically your perfect topsoil. Is the best way, or a composted topsoil is the best way to put it. I'm going to try to keep everything in layman terms to make it really easy. With that said, let's go on to the next weeds that you may see in your lawn here in Zone 8 or Zone 8B, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, all the way across the United States. I mean, even Texas is in Zone 8. I'm just using that as a reference. So, Buckhorn, plantain, if you see that, I'll actually put a picture up for that. You'll have low levels of calcium, low humus levels also, high chlorine, high magnesium, high potassium, and sodium. All those will be in that range when you see those. Dandelions. Put a picture up for that. Dandelions. Long tap roots, hard to get rid of. I know. And a lot of people want to put pre-em, post-em, etc. But here's another way. When you see a dandelion, you know a couple different things. Now, the Native Americans used to call them the sun and the moon because of the flowers. But it makes a lot of sense. I won't get into that. but you can research it for yourself. If you have dandelions in your yard, you'll have low levels of calcium and high levels of chlorine and potassium. Now, the reason I'm telling you these things is because you want to level them, set them in the other direction. Like I said, dandelions are low levels of calcium, so that means you would want to add the right amount of calcium. There's different ways to add calcium, but if you add it in the correct way, you can change your pH. You can do a lot of different things. You can it's just a lot of different things. Calcium's good. It's good for the cells and the structure of the plant. It's a good thing to do. With dandelions again, you have high levels of chlorine and potassium. Keep that in mind because you want to make it the opposite, so it's unfriendly for all these weeds to grow, and you want to find that balance that's good for the grass or the lawn turf that you have or the garden that you have. So, with that said, let's move on. Wild garlic. Now, I made a video before of what wild garlic basically is. You have wild onions, wild garlic. A lot of people like to confuse those. Is the best way I know to put it. But wild garlic, it actually, when you pull the little stems up and you look down in them, they're hollow. You look down in the stems. Wild onions will be solid on the inside and flat. So just kind of keep that in mind. But back to wild garlic. Wild garlic indicates that you have low levels of calcium. You have a low bacterial count. Keep that in mind. You need bacteria in your soil. It helps benefit so much. I won't get into mycorrhizomes and all the other things. That's for a later video. But your soil needs bacteria and fungus, basically, the proper ones to really thrive. Now, with that said, let's get back to wild garlic before I get off track. It indicates you have low calcium, low bacterial count, high, very high levels of chlorine, magnesium, potassium, and sodium when you have wild garlic in your yard. Now, I'm saying if you have more than one in that area of that soil, in that patch of that soil, that way, if any of these weeds that I've listed, if you come across those, you know how to correct them. You know what they're doing for your soil. You know, because they thrive in an environment. All weeds thrive in an environment pretty much that's 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 the best way to put this. That's not conducive to your soil, to what you want, to your weed-free lawn. So if you can change your soil and make it better, adding compost, top dressing it, not using synthetic fertilizers, in my opinion, you can benefit from saving money. You can benefit from not having to go out and eradicate those weeds chemically or whatever, or even by hand. You can save yourself time and money by doing those things. Simply just by keeping that advice I gave you in mind. Now, with that said, I'm going to touch on some other grasses. I told you centipede likes about 5.5 pH. It likes a range, truly likes a range between 5 and 6 pH. That's for centipede grass. And like I said, it's called the lazy man's grass because it needs very little care. And if you, a lot of guys like to add iron, get it as green as possible. But, there's levels where you have to take care of the grass. When you push it so hard, it's like putting it on steroids with synthetic fertilizers, and you can actually stress the grass out, cause more damage, and then next year you have a bare lawn, or you start having bare spots. So keep that in mind with any grass turf. That's why I try not to use synthetic fertilizers, to tell you the truth. Okay, so second is Bermuda grass. Bermuda grass is used on golf courses. It's used on athletic courses and things like that. It's used for lawns also. It's a fast-growing grass. It repairs itself. So if you have a bare spot, it won't take as long to repair as centipede grass. But Bermuda grass has a pH level that it likes to stay in. Also, it has between 6 and 6.5. That's the pH level that it likes to grow in. If you can keep your Bermuda grass in that area, it will grow very fast, and it will grow very well with the right amendments to the soil. Another soil, excuse me, another another type of grass that we have here, or lawn turf that we have here in our area, is St. Augustine. St. Augustine is a little thicker blade of grass. It likes a wide pH scale. Now it will grow from about 5.0 pH to about 8.5 pH. That's a wide range. That truly is a wide range. And it will kind of change colors and appearance above 7.5 pH. It looks more kind of yellowish, to tell you the truth. So you want to try to keep it more like between 5 and 7. Even though it will grow in those ranges, it's not as healthy in those ranges. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I try to tell people, shoot for around 6 pH on any of those three. You'll probably be within range. Even though Centipede, the max is like 25 and 6. Bermuda grass starts at 6 to 6.5. If you can keep that in mind, it's just a good indicator, a good general knowledge to keep. It's just, when I give you this advice, it's just general advice. I could go and take a soil sample of your grass, or you could do it yourself, and you can fine tune it to make it optimal, and add more organic matter to your topsoil so that it will last longer. So I do appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, all the information is below here at Grand Dunes Landscape and Maintenance, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the lawn. Take care.